Hi everybody and welcome to Rocco Baby Crochet. Hope you're all well and having a great week. Massive warm welcome to all my regular viewers and subscribers. It's lovely to have you here and thank you so much for supporting the channel. A massive warm welcome to anybody who's just found the channel for the first time. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Stick around and consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on my next free pattern or stitch tutorial, and it also really supports the channel as well. So today I have got this gorgeous pattern for you and we're going to be making this cat plushie. So it was only a matter of time before I did one of these cat plushies and I'm absolutely in love with how the patterns turned out. The measurements for this stuffy is that it measures 11 inches from head to tail and the height of it, not including the tail, is 8 inches. So it is quite a large plushie and it's lovely and squishy, and I'm absolutely thrilled with how it turns out. I hope you love it as much as I do. I've kept the pattern as simple as possible so that any skill level can enjoy this. It really is only using a UK double crochet or US single crochet. So let's take a little look at all the materials that I've used to make this plushie. So the yarn that I've used to make my plushies are the James Zebra Flutterby chunky yarn. It's a beautiful velvety yarn and it makes the softest squishy stuffies or plushies. Sometimes I call them stuffies and sometimes I call them plushies, but you know what I'm on about. So it takes about 150 grams. So these are 100-gram balls, so you'll need 1.5 of those. You'll also need a 4mm crochet hook, pair of scissors, a darning needle, a stitch marker. You'll of course need some toy stuffing. I've used around 250 grams of toy stuffing. For the face, I've used this Rico Designs Creative cotton. This is an Aran weighted cotton. Because the stuffy is quite a large one, you're going to need something thick to do the mouth and the whiskers with. So I've gone for this black Aran weighted cotton. For the eyes and nose, I'm using these safety eyes and noses. So mine have got like a little gold around the outside of them there, and both the eyes and the nose measure 12mm, and they come with these safety backs that you can push on, and then these are really difficult then to come out of your piece of work. Once you put the back on, you literally have to cut them out if you want to get them out. So I use those as well. If you prefer to embroider them, that's completely up to you, but they're the sizes that I use. 2 eyes and 1 nose, all measuring 12mm. So hopefully you've got all your bits together. Grab yourself a cuppa and let's learn how to make one of these gorgeous cats together. So for this tutorial, I've decided to use an Aran weighted yarn to film it with. I did try it with the Flutterby, but it just wasn't showing up the stitches because it's a velvet yarn. It was losing the stitches and I wasn't able to show you what I wanted to show you when it came to decreasing and increasing stitches. So I'm just going to use an Aran weighted yarn for this tutorial and a 3mm hook. But you want to grab your Flutterby, your chunky velvety yarn and your 4mm hook. And we're going to begin making the ears first, and we're going to make a slip knot and pop that on your hook in your preferred method, and then next we're going to chain 9. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and we're going to start in the second chain from the hook. So this yarn that's on the hook is the working yarn and doesn't count a stitch. You're counting down these V's, so it's into the second V if you're working from the front, or if like me you prefer to work into the back loops, it's the second back bump down that you're going to be working into, and you're going to place a UK double crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. So that's your first UK double crochet, US single crochet. You're then going to place 1 double crochet in every chain along, so we'll have a total of 8. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for 7, and here's my last one for 8. So that's row 1 of your ears completed. You're then going to chain 1 and turn. That chain 1 is just a turning chain and doesn't count as a stitch. If you turn your work towards you slightly, you'll be able to see the top of those stitches is the V. So the part of the V that's furthest away is the back loop, and the part that is closest towards you is known as the front loop. And we're going to place a decrease over these first 2 stitches. And the way that I like to do a decrease when I'm working a stuffy or an Amigurumi project is I'll insert my hook straight underneath that front loop of the first stitch and then the front loop of the next stitch along. Yarn over and pull through 2, which will leave you with 2 loops on your hook, and you'll just yarn over and finish that stitch off as you usually would. Now if you prefer to use the more traditional method of decreasing, then that's fine. I just wanted to show you how I did it because it is a pretty invisible way of making a decrease in your projects. Next we're going to place 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and there's 4, and you should have 2 stitches left, and you're just going to make another decrease there. So I'm going to insert underneath the front loop of each of those 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through them 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through both loops on my hook. To move up to row 3, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Again, that's a turning chain and doesn't count as a stitch. And we're going to make a decrease across these first 2 stitches. So there's 1, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2, and then make a decrease across the last 2 stitches. So I'm picking up the front loops only of those 2 stitches. There's 1, 2, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, chain 1 and turn to move up to row 4. Row 4, we're just going to make 2 decreases going across these 4 stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook underneath the front loop of the first 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then insert my hook underneath the front loops of the remaining 2 stitches and make another decrease. Don't forget, you can make your decreases in a more traditional way if you prefer. Chain 1 and turn, and you should have 2 stitches left at this point. We're just going to make 1 last decrease. So I'm going to insert my hook underneath the front loops of both of those stitches, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2. Now if you're newer to crochet, it's an idea just to place a stitch marker underneath that last stitch that we did, just to mark it. We're just going to do an edging of double crochets all around this ear. So we're going to ignore this row at the moment, so this top row, and we're just going to place 3 double crochets evenly going along this edge here. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the end row stitch and place a double crochet, and I'm going to place 3 of them going it down this edge of the ear, and that brings me to my corner. So my very first chain that I did, and into that chain I'm going to place 3 double crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Now I like to crochet over my loose end here because it saves me a job weaving in later on. And then we're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the stitches going along, so on the opposite side of the chain that we've already worked into. So you should have 6 that's going across here. So I've just done 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then your last one here will be your corner one. So into that one we're going to place 3 double crochets. So insert your hook and place your first one, pivot your work around as you're doing this so it naturally will go around the corner of the triangle that we've just made for the ear. And then along this edge here, we're going to evenly space out and place 3 double crochets so everything matches. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3, and then into this space here where your stitch marker is, that's the top of your very last decrease. We're going to place 3 stitches into there just to make everything even. All the corners will have 3 stitches. So there's 1. Pop your stitch marker out once you know where you're placing this last one. 1, 2, and 3, and then you can just slip stitch to that very first double crochet you did on the side and snip that yarn off. I like to leave a nice long loose end. You're going to want to make 4 of those little ears, so if you want to press pause while you go ahead and make yours. So I've already got 2 here that I've already sewn together, so I'm going to show you how I've done that now with these 2. So when your loose end is over here on this side, that's the front of your work facing you, so make sure you can see that both your front sides are facing you and sandwich them together, close them up on one another so you've just got wrong sides facing out. You're then going to want to grab your darning needle and just thread one of those loose ends. And we're just going to crochet them together, and we're just going to whip stitch them together. I think this is a mattress stitch actually, and we're going to go underneath the back loops of each of those side stitches. So that's where I joined my yarn, so I'm just starting with this one just underneath here, and I'm just going to go through the back loops only. And I do this until I get to the last of my corner stitches. So that's the first of my corner stitches just here that I'm going through now. So I've done 3, so that's 4. My next part of the corner, and then my last little stitch in the corner. I just feel like it makes it easier to attach if I sew all the corner together. And then I'm going to take my needle off that strand of yarn, and I'm going to go back to my other loose end, which is up at the top of my ear, and just thread that on. So you'll need to go backwards a little bit with this one because we started off just before the peak. So I just take it back and I'll go through the same stitch again. This will be on the inside so it won't be shown. And then you're just going to continue mattress stitching together the 2 sides of your ear, just exactly how you did on the first half. So these are actually the back loops, even though they're closest towards us, because if you remember, we've got the wrong side facing us at the moment. So I'm down on the edge now, so I know I should have 3 there. So there's 2, 1, 2, and 3, which will bring me to my corner. One, 2, and 3, and then I'll just run this loose end just up the inside here just to secure it. One, I like to go back and forth 3 times. 2, and you don't have to worry about this being too neat because it's going to be on the inside, so it's not going to be seen. And then you can trim that loose end. And you'll want to do the same with the other loose end that we just used to join it, and just quickly weave that one in as well. snip away all your loose ends. You can leave them in there if you want, it just adds a bit of extra stuff in, but I prefer just to keep everything nice and tidy, and I prefer to trim them off. And then you can turn your second ear right side out. Just make sure you have a nice point at the top of that triangle for the ear, and there you've got your 2 ears. So let's move on and make the paws next. To make one of the paws, we're going to start off and we're going to make a slip knot and pop that onto our hook, and we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then into the second chain from the hook we're going to place 6 double crochets. So insert your hook back into that very first chain we've just made and place a double crochet, and then go back in and place a second one. Grab your stitch marker if you're newer to crochet and just mark that first one so it becomes easy to spot when you come back round. And I'm working in the Aran yarn now, so I'm going to carry my loose end around. I would normally do a magic ring method if I'm working in Aran yarn to make amigurumi, but because this pattern is written for the flutterby yarn, magic rings can be a little bit tricky sometimes on the velvet yarn. It can tend to snag and pull, and it's difficult to pull the magic ring together, so that's why I'm doing the chain 2. Because I'm using the Aran, I'm going to carry around my loose end, because if I crochet around that loose end as well, when I've finished placing my 6 double crochets, I can give that a pull and it'll tighten any hole up as well. So I'm going back in, so this is my third, 4, 5, and there's 6. Can you see? Because I'm using Aran yarn, I've got a little hole there. You won't have that when you're using the velvet yarn. So I'm just going to pull on that loose end, which will cinch that hole together. We're going to be working in the spiral, so we're not going to slip stitch to join. We're just going to work directly into that very first double crochet that we place, and we're going to place a double crochet increase into that one. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you're going to go back into the same stitch and place a second one. So that's an increase there, and then in every stitch around we're going to place a double crochet increase. So in total by the end of round 2 we should have 12 stitches. So into my next stitch I'm going to place 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Into my next stitch place 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Into my next stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Next stitch along, another double crochet increase, 1 and 2, and then 2 double crochets into my very last stitch, and your stitch count at this point should be 12. Again, we're not going to slip stitch to join, we're just going to pop out our stitch marker and continue working, and into this very first stitch here we're going to place a double crochet increase. So 2 double crochets into that first stitch, and then mark that first one so I don't lose it. And then into the next stitch along you're just going to place 1 double crochet, and you repeat that all the way around until you come back to your stitch marker. So into my next stitch 2 double crochets, and then followed by 1 double crochet on its own. So if you want to make your way around, doing that round repeat of a double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet, and I'll meet you back here when you come to move up to round 4. So I've got 2 stitches left, and I'm placing my last double crochet increase and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch for round 3, and we're going to move on to round 4 now. So we'll pop out that stitch marker. Again, we're just going to continue working in the spiral, and where we've just removed our stitch marker from, we're going to place another double crochet increase. So we're placing 2 double crochets into that very first stitch of the round. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker so you don't lose track, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. and we're going to repeat that all the way around. That's going to be our round repeat, a double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So let's do that one more time together. So a double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets into that next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. So if you want to repeat that pattern all the way around, and meet me back when you are at your stitch marker, and we'll move up to round 5 together. I've just placed my last stitch for round 4, and we're going to move on to round 5. Now round 5 through to round 8 is all the same. We're just going to be placing 1 double crochet in every stitch around, and you'll notice then that your sides start to turn up, which make the shape of the legs. So let's start that. So 1 double crochet in every stitch around, 1, 2. Don't forget to pop your stitch marker back in. Move into your next stitch, place another one, and you'll do this all the way until the end of round 8. So your stitch count should always remain at 24, so make sure you're keeping count of everything. You're not going to slip stitch to join, you're just going to continue working exactly how we have done in the first 4 rounds. So if you want to make your way around for rounds 5, 6, 7 and 8, placing 1 double crochet into every stitch, and come back to me when you're ready to fasten off. So I'm just placing my very last double crochet of round 8, and then I'm going to take my scissors and just trim off a really nice size loose end that's going to be long enough for you to attach the foot to the cat when we're putting everything together at the end. And then if you pull up on that loop to pull it through, this is the way I like to fasten off my amigurumi projects, because it just leaves a nice and neater, flatter edge for me to seam together later on. And what you're going to do is you're going to skip this first stitch here and pop your crochet hook from the front through to the back of the second stitch along, and then grab that yarn that you've just pulled through, hook it over and pull it through. Give it a little pull to the size of an actual stitch, and then you're going to take your hook and insert it from behind underneath the back loop only of that very last stitch that we just placed. Grab onto that yarn and pull it through. And then if you give that a little pull to make it the actual size of a stitch, there you go. There's no lumps or bumps. That's about as flat as you'll get it to attach it to an amigurumi project. So you're going to need to make another 4 of these, so there'll be 5 in total, but the 5th one don't finish off. Come back to me when you're finishing off row 8. So you'll need 4 that you fasten off. So that'll be 4 for the paws, and then we start the tail in the same way. So once you have done your 4 paws, fastens them off in that way, start making a 5th one, and when you come to the end of row 8, come back to me and I'll show you how to continue the tail. So this is the start of my tail, and I've just finished the 8th row here. What we're going to do is just continue to build on this. So we're going to have 32 rows in total. So you'll just continue working your way around in a spiral, placing 1 double crochet in every stitch until you've completed in total 32 rows. So if you want to go ahead, come back to me when you're ready to fasten off the tail, and we can do that together. So I've just placed my last stitch on row 32, and this is what my tail is looking like. Hopefully yours is looking very similar. I'm just going to fasten this off exactly the same as I have done for every other part of the project so far. So I'm going to pull up on my loose ends, pop my stitch marker out now, and insert my hook from front to back underneath the second stitch, yarn over and pull that through, and then go underneath from back to front, the back loop only of the last stitch that I placed, yarn over and pull that through. And then you'll just want to give it a little pull to get it to the correct size of a stitch. And now we're ready to move on to the body of our cat. So to make the body, you're going to want a stitch marker handy. We're working in the spiral again. We're going to start by making a chain 2. So you want a slip knot, in your preferred method, pop that onto your hook and chain 2, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. Into the very first chain that you've worked, you're going to go back into that and place 6 double crochet. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. There's your first double crochet, and there's your second. Pop your stitch marker in just so you don't lose track of your stitches. And again, because I'm working in the Aran yarn, I'm going to crochet over my loose end, but you shouldn't need to do this if you're using the Flutterby yarn. Back in, there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm just going to give a little pull on my loose end to draw that together, with it being the Aran, but you shouldn't see a hole there if you're using the Flutterby yarn. So for round 2, we're going to do a round of increases, just like we did when we were making the feet and the tail. We're going to remove your stitch marker, and into that very first stitch place 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. Bob your stitch marker back into that very first stitch so you don't lose track, and then move on to your next stitch and place 2 double crochet into there as well. 1 and 2. 2 into your next stitch along. 1 and 2. 2 into your next stitch. 1 and 2. 2 into your next stitch, 1 and 2, and then that brings us to our very last stitch, and we're just going to place 2 double crochet into there as well. Again, we're working in the spiral, so we're not slip stitching to join, we're just going to continue working for round 3. Into your very first stitch, you're going to place a double crochet increase, 1, and then go back into the same stitch and place your second double crochet. Pop your stitch marker back in so you don't lose track, and then into your next stitch you're going to place 1 double crochet. You'll repeat this all the way around for round 3. So into your next stitch is a double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets into that stitch, and then the very next stitch is 1 double crochet on its own. So if you want to repeat that all the way around, alternating a double crochet increase and 1 double crochet on its own, come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 4. So I've just placed my last double crochet for round 3. Round 3 you should have a stitch count total of 18. We're going to move on to round 4 now, so pop your stitch marker out. Round 4, at the end of it you'll have a stitch count of 24, and into this first stitch we're going to place our double crochet increase, 1, and then back in and place a second one. Replace your stitch marker so you don't lose track of any of your stitches, and then 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. And that's your round repeat for round 4. A double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So let's do it together one more time. 1 double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. So if you want to repeat that all the way around, and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 5, and we can do that together. I've just reached the end of round 4. I'm going to pop my stitch marker out to move on to round 5. Into this very first stitch we're going to place a double crochet increase, so we're popping 2 double crochets into that very first stitch. Pop your stitch marker back into that first stitch you made just so you don't lose track, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2 and 3. And that's your round repeat for round 5. So you're going to place a double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Your stitch count at the end of round 5 will be 30. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 6, and we can do that together. I'm just ready to move up to round 6. I'm going to bob my stitch marker out, and we're going to change up where we're placing our double crochet increases. If you look at it here, because we've put them so far in the same spots, you can start seeing where they've been put, and we don't want it to be noticeable in our project when it's finished. It's looking like a hexagon shape at the moment. So by changing the positioning of where we put our increases, it keeps it nice and circular for us with none of these corners that we're starting to see here. So round 6, and we're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker, just so we keep track. And into the next stitch we're going to place a double crochet increase, so you're going to pop 2 double crochets into that stitch. 1 and 2. And this is now where we start the round repeat. So what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase. You're going to do that in total 5 times. So you'll be finishing here with a double crochet increase, and you'll have 2 stitches left just to work 1 double crochet into each of those. So let's start this together. So 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then a double crochet increase. 1 and 2. So you're going to do that another 4 times. When you place your last double crochet increase, come back to me. We'll finish the round off together and move up to round 7. So you're going to be doing 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase another 4 times, and then come back to me. So I'm just about to place my last double crochet increase of round 6. So there's my first, back in and place my second, and as you can see I've got 2 stitches left, and I'm just going to place 1 double crochet into each of those just to finish off the round. At the end of round 6 your stitch count should be at 36 stitches. We'll move on to round 7 now. So you want to pop your stitch marker out. This is going to be another round where we change the positioning of the double crochet increase. So into the first 3 stitches we're going to place 1 double crochet. So insert your hook, 1 into the next stitch, 2 and into your next stitch to place your third. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker to keep track of things in that very first stitch we've just made. Once you've placed your first 3 double crochets into the 4th stitch along, we're going to place a double crochet increase. 1 and 2. And now we're at the round repeat. So we're going to place 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches, followed by a double crochet increase. You'll repeat that 5 times all the way around, and again you'll finish here with 2 stitches left to work into, and you'll just place 1 double crochet into each of those. So the round repeat, let's do it together one time. So we're going to place 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then into the next stitch you'll make your double crochet increase. Repeat that another 4 times. Come back to me when you're on your 4th repeat and we'll finish off this round together. At the end of round 7 you should have 42 stitches. So I'm just at my last 3 stitches for round 7. Got a double crochet increase to place here to finish my round repeats off, and then 2 stitches left to work into, and I'm just going to place 1 double crochet into each of those remaining stitches, and then we're ready to move up to round 8. So if you want to pop your stitch marker out, round 8 we're going to have a total of 48 stitches at the end of it, and into the first 4 stitches we're going to place 1 double crochet. So there's 1 and 2. Just going to pop my stitch marker back in, move into my next stitch for 3, and move into the next stitch along for 4, and then I'm going to place my double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets into that next stitch along. I'm now at the round repeat, and what you'll want to do for round 8 is you're going to do 1 double crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then a double crochet increase into the 7th. You'll repeat that again 5 times all the way around, and when you come up towards the end you'll have 2 stitches left, and you'll just place 1 double crochet into each of those. So let's do the first round repeat together. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into the first 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then a double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets into the 7th stitch along. You repeat that another 4 times. Come back to me when you're ready to finish up round 8. We can do that together and move up to round 9. So I'm just placing my last double crochet increase, 1 and 2, and then I've got 2 stitches left to place 1 double crochet into each of those, 1 and 2. Pop your stitch marker out and we'll move on to round 9. Round 9, we're going to start with our double crochet increase again. So you're going to place 2 double crochets into that first stitch, 1 and 2. Pop your stitch marker back in to keep track of things, and then into the next 7 stitches we're going to place 1 double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So that's your round repeat. You repeat that another 5 times, so it'll be 1 double crochet increase followed by 1 double crochet in each of the next 7 stitches. At the end of round 9 you'll have a stitch count of 54. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 10, and we can do that together. I've just finished round 9 and hopefully you're looking similar to me. You'll be able to see now that we haven't got those corners any longer, so moving where we've done those increases really does help with that. Round number 10, we're going to place a double crochet increase into this very first stitch, 1, and then back in to place our second. Replace your stitch marker into that first stitch, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and that's your round repeat. You'll do that another 5 times all the way round for round 10. At the end of round 10 your stitch count will be at 60. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 11, and we can do that together. I've just finished round 10 and I'm just going to pop my stitch marker out to start round 11. We're just going to do one more round of changing where these increases are. So what we'll do for round 11 is place 1 double crochet in the first 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, pop my stitch marker back in, 3, 4 and 5, and then I'll place my increase. So 2 double crochets into the next stitch along, 1 and 2. So now I'm going to start my round repeat, and the round repeat is going to be 1 double crochet in the next 9 stitches followed by a double crochet increase. So moving into my next stitch for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and then I'm going to make my increase 1 and 2. You'll repeat that all the way around, so you'll do that another 4 times going around this edge here, and when you come in towards the end of round 11 you should have 4 stitches left, which you'll work 1 double crochet into each. But when you've repeated that 1 double crochet into the next 9 stitches followed by a double crochet increase another 4 times, come back to me and we'll finish the round off together. So I've just placed my last increase of round 11 and I've got 4 stitches left, and I'm just going to place 1 double crochet into each of those to finish off this round. At the end of round 11, you should have a total of 66 stitches. So moving on to round 12, which is our last increasing round, and we're going to start in our first stitch by placing our increase. So we're starting straight away with the round repeat. So there's my first one, back into that same stitch and place a second one, pop my stitch marker in the first double crochet I made, and then into the next 10 stitches we're going to place one double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's 10. And we're just going to repeat that another 5 times. So we're going to place one double crochet increase into the next stitch, and then one double crochet into each of the next 10 stitches. At the end of round 12, your stitch count will be at 72, and this is the last of our increasing round. So if you press pause, work your way around and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 13. So I've just finished all my increasing rounds. My stitch count at the end of round 12 is at 72, so that's lovely. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to add the features onto the face, just so that when the work gets a little bit bigger, it's not hard to add them. So what I do is where my join is, I want that to be on the belly of the cat, so I make sure that's facing downwards, so that's going to be underneath, and this is the top of my head here. And what you want to always do with these, if you're using the same as I'm using, safety eyes, just make sure before you put the back on them that you're completely happy with all the placements. So I like to pop the nose directly into the center of my circle, so where we have started it, you'll see that beginning point there. So I pop my nose into there, and then from my nose, what I usually do is I count out 1, 2 rows, and then I'll place my eyes just a little bit above where the nose is, so they're not very far apart at all. But you want to make sure that they're pretty even. So I'm quite happy with that positioning. But what I'll do, first of all, I can pop the backs onto the eyes. So I'll just push them down. So there's my second eye on. You just push those backs onto there. Before I put the nose on, I just like to make the mouth, because it's really difficult to get any yarn. Once you've put the nose on, it's really difficult to sew anything underneath it. So it's always an idea to do that at this point as well. So I'm just going to thread my yarn onto the darning needle. And remember that inside of this doesn't have to be extremely neat, because it's not going to be seen. And I go up into the center there where my nose is going to go, and I do a straight line down, which is 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if that takes you into the middle of a stitch, that's okay, just as long as it's a straight line, that's what you want. And then what you're going to do is move 1 stitch up on that same row that you've just inserted your needle in, and then go back to the nose. And then I like to just do one just diagonally, 1 row above it, just so that it looks like a happy cat, and back in there. And then you just want to repeat the same on the other side, just making sure you keep it as even as possible. So 1 stitch to the side of it and back into the center, and then 1 stitch, 1 row above and a little bit on a diagonal. It's worth taking your time with this just to make sure you're happy with how the face looks. Very often I'll take things out 2 or 3 times before I'm happy with it. It's quite difficult. I know it's only a couple of basic lines, but sometimes it can look really not how I want it to look. So for the whiskers, what I like to do is in the middle of the eye, I go down one row underneath the middle of the eye, and I'll just do one strand of yarn running diagonally underneath the eye, which runs 2 rows, and then I'll go back to the center, and then I'll do 1 row which goes horizontally underneath the eye, and that's 3 rows, and then go back to the center point, and then 1 diagonally, which is 2 rows again. So there you should have your whiskers. So that's how I do my 3 whiskers, and I'll just repeat the same on the other side. Keeping it all even is the main trick. So there's my first whisker, and then one that's 3 rows out horizontally, and then my third one 2 rows out diagonally again. And there you go. That's how I do my face for my cats. So this is the back side of the face. I hope I'm not on my own, that there's only mine that looks this messy. I am so bad at sewing. I don't pretend to be good at it. It's all very basic, any sewing that I do. And on the inside, I just make a double knot just to secure that. Before I pull the double knot tight, I just hold it in my finger just to make sure that it doesn't pull any of my very intricate sewing work out of the front. So that's a really basic how I do my cat faces, and then I'll just pop my nose back into the centre there, make sure it's straight, and then just pop the back on. So now that everything's in place, we can continue making the body of the cat. So I'm going to turn him upside down, pop my stitch marker out, and carry on making the body of the cat. Now what we're going to do for round 13 through to round 37 is we're just going to place 1 double crochet into every stitch. So move into your first stitch and place a double crochet, and then into your next stitch and place another double crochet. You'll continue working in the spiral, so it's really important to keep your stitch marker there to keep track. Every round should have 72 stitches in, so you'll keep working in the spiral, 1 double crochet in every stitch for a stitch count total of 72 for rounds 13 through to round 37. When you're finishing up round 37, if you want to press pause until you get to that point, and then when you're finishing up and coming to the end of row 37, press play, come back to me, and we can finish off the body of the cat together. And then all we've got to do is position and sew on all of our parts, and then we're done, and you'll have a wonderful little plushie either for yourself or to gift or to sell at your craft fairs. So press pause, come back to me when you are ready to move up to round 38. See you shortly. I've just finished row 37 and I'm ready to move on to row 38. Hopefully you've got something that's looking a little bit like this now. So row 38, we're going to be starting the decreasing rows. So over the first 2 stitches for round 38, we're going to make a decrease. So I'm going to go underneath the front loop of both of those 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2, and that's my first decrease. Next, what I'm going to do is place 1 double crochet in the next 10 stitches. So there's 1. Don't forget just to pop your stitch marker back into that very first stitch of the round. Move into my next one, and there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So my next stitch is going to be a decrease over these 2 stitches here, and then follow that with 10 double crochet. In total we'll do that 6 times all the way around. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 39, and we can do that together. So I've just finished round 38, and because we've done 6 decreases in the round, your stitch count should now be at 66. Moving on to round 39, we're going to decrease again. All the remaining rounds are decreasing rounds. We're going to be closing this hole up now. So over the first 2 stitches we want to make our first decrease, so I'm going to insert my hook underneath both of those front loops, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and then finish off my double crochet as normal. I'll just pop a stitch marker back in that first stitch so I can keep track, and then into the next 9 stitches I'm going to place 1 double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's 9. And that's your round repeat for round 39. At the end of this round you should be finishing with 60 stitches. So you're going to be making 1 double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet in the next 9 stitches. You'll do that in total 6 times all around the edge, and if you come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 40. So I'm just about to start round 40, and the round repeat for round 40 is we're going to make a decrease over the first 2 stitches. Don't forget to always pop your stitch marker back in so we don't lose track, and then 1 double crochet over the next 8 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 8. So that's your round repeat. So you'll repeat that in total 6 times. So you'll make a double crochet decrease over your next 2 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. Your stitch count at the end of round 40 will be at 54. So if you press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move to round 41. So I've just finished round 40. I'm going to pop my stitch marker out. Round 41. Again, we're going to start with a decrease over the first 2 stitches. So there's my decrease. Just pop my stitch marker back in to keep track, and then I'm going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and that's your round repeat for round 41. You're going to be placing a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet into the next 7 stitches. In total you'll do that 6 times, and at the end of round 41 your stitch count will be at 48. If you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to 42, and we can do that together. So I'm just about to start row 42. Hopefully you'll be able to see now that the hole is starting to close. We'll do a couple more rounds and then we'll start adding a little bit of stuff in. So round 42 we're going to make a double crochet decrease over the first 2 stitches. Don't forget, always pop your stitch marker back in, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 6. So at the end of row 42, once you've repeated that 6 times, so you'll do a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet into the next 6 stitches, in total 6 times all the way around. At the end of the round your stitch count will be at 42 stitches. So if you want to press pause while you make your way around and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 43. So I'm just about to start round 43. I'm going to pop my stitch marker out. Round 43, your round repeat for this round is going to be a double crochet decrease and then 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches. So let's do that first one together. So here's my decrease, pop my stitch marker back into there, and then 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you repeat that in total 6 times. So a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches. At the end of round 43, your stitch count should be at 36. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 44. So I've just come to the end of round 43, popping out my stitch marker, and we'll move on to round 44. So for round 44, we're going to do a double crochet decrease across these first 2 stitches, pop my stitch marker back in, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's the round repeat that you're going to do all the way around. So in total you'll do that 6 times. Place a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. In total at the end of round 44 your stitch count will be at 30, and if you want to come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 45, and we can do that together. So I've just finished round 44. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take my stitch marker out of that first stitch and just pop it on my loop there, just so I don't lose any stitches, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill this with toy stuffing before that hole gets any narrower. So I like to pack it in quite tightly. So I'm quite happy with that. You just want to make sure that it's evenly filled and quite tightly filled as well, tightly packed in there. So moving on now to round 45. So I'll pop my stitch marker out of that loop there, which is keeping my work in place. The round repeat for round 45 is going to be a double crochet decrease, and you're just going to have to push the stuffing out of the way with your finger on the inside. So we'll make our first decrease and pop your stitch marker back in there just so we don't lose the stitch or lose track of our work. And then into the next 3 stitches you're going to place 1 double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. And that's your round repeat for round 45. So you'll repeat that in total 6 times. 1 double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. At the end of round 45 your stitch count will be at 24. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 46. So I've just finished round 45 and I'm ready to do round 46. So I'll pop my stitch marker out. Your round repeat for this round is a double crochet decrease over the first 2 stitches. 1, 2. Don't forget to pop your stitch marker back into that first stitch so we don't lose track, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and there's 2. You repeat that in total 6 times, and at the end of round 46 your stitch count will be at 18. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you're ready to move up to round 47. So I'm just moving on to round 47 next, and the round repeat for this round is a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet into your next stitch. So you repeat that 6 times all the way around, and at the end of this round your stitch count should be at 12. So if you want to press pause and come back to me when you are ready to move up to our last round, which is round 48. So you're just going to continue repeating that, a double crochet decrease followed by 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So I've just finished round 47. Round 48 is our very last round, and we're just going to place 1 double crochet decrease into every stitch around. So you should have 6 stitches when we finish this. So there's my first one, There's my second decrease. I'll just pop my stitch marker in there just so we can make sure that everything's right when we come to the very end. This is my third decrease. And then 4. So I'm just keep going underneath the front loops of each of these stitches to make my decreases, but if you want to make them in the other method, that's fine, whichever you prefer. This is my 5th decrease, and I've got 2 stitches left just to make one final decrease across. And then we can snip that yarn. You want to leave a long enough loose end just to fasten it off. So grab your scissors and your darning needle, and you'll also want to grab your ears, your feet and your tail at this point as well. So I've just snipped off my yarn and I'm going to pull through that last stitch. And then thread my darning needle. And the way I like to pull my projects closed is I'm just going to weave my darning needle in and out of every stitch around. So into that next stitch and then back out of the other one. Into the next stitch and out of the next one. Into the next stitch and out of the next one, which was my last stitch. And then when you pull on that, it will close that hole together. I'm going to make a little knot here, but you still want to make it quite neat. Some of it will be showing. Our tail gets attached just here, so just be a bit careful, a bit neat with this. Pull that tight, and then what I do is I like to pop my loose end into my project and pop it out of the other side there and pull that through. Pull the loose end into the project. Just make sure it's not pulled too tightly and changing the shape of anything. So then once you've done that, you can trim that loose end off, pull on it a little bit, pull gently. When you chop it off, it'll just go inside of the project for you. So next I'm going to attach my ears. So I like to pop my ears. I've put some stuff in on the inside of them to fill them out, and I like the ears to sit sort of on the top there but above the eye, so just there, and then they'll sit next to each other like that. So both of them, the centre of them is where the eye is, and all I'll do is I'll take my yarn, and when I'm happy with the placement of it, I'll just whip stitch that into place. Just take a little bit of time and make sure that you are happy with where it's being placed, and then I go through each of those stitches and each of the part of the body of the cat as well, and mattress stitch those on. So I'm going to do this off camera, but if you want to position your ears to where you're happy with them and then mattress stitch them on in the same way. So there are my ears attached, and then what I like to do is I take the feet and I'll mattress stitch them on underneath here. So I put them further back than the ears, but not terribly far back, so around there. And again, you're going to mattress stitch those on, and the one at the back I put about there, just before this curve here starts to form. So I'll let you pop those on, and like I said, I literally just use a really simple mattress stitch, making sure I go through the body of the cat and then each stitch that goes around once I've positioned them where I want them. So I'll see you back here and I'll show you where I pop the tail. So I've just finished attaching all of my legs to my kitty cat, and she's now stood up, and I'm about to attach the tail. I just wanted to show you how I do this. So with the legs and the ears, I fully stuff those, so I put as much stuff in as I can into them to get them nice and plump. When I'm stuffing the tail, I leave about an inch at the end that isn't filled with the toy stuffing, and then I fold it together and I just whip stitch, or mattress stitch should I say, the two sides closed. So making sure that I go through both sides of the tail all the way along until it's completely sealed and seamed together. So once I've closed both the sides together, take the body of my cat, and I like to attach my tail a few rows above this centre here where we joined it. So what I'll do is I sew it down across the edge, and then I sew it a little bit up the side so that it sort of takes that shape, so the tail is always high, so it looks like a happy kitty cat. Just make sure I'm happy and that's nice and central, and then I'll just whip stitch that on to the body of the cat. Everything I do is whip stitching. Sewing is not a strong point of mine, so I like to keep it really simple. But I keep these as close as possible to keep it nice and neat. You don't want it adding a lot of bulk. Of course, when you're working with the Flutterby yarn, it's much easier to keep this neat because this seaming is hidden, but I've had to change my yarn to do this just so you could see the stitches. So I would probably spend a bit longer on this, but I'm doing this as I would one of the cats in the velvet yarn. So then once I've gone all the way along the end and the tail is officially attached, I'll whip stitch it. Make sure from the front it's falling into the centre. I'll just whip stitch up about an inch along this side here, just to make sure that it stays in the position that I want it to. And you might want yours to be standing up completely straight, and you might not want to do this. You might just want to attach it at the bottom. That's completely up to you. Then once I've done a couple of those and I'm happy with where the tail is sitting, I'll work my way back down this edge, go back along this seam, and then up this edge to a similar point, just so the tails will sit like that on the cat, which is how I like it to sit. So I hope you've had lots of fun with this tutorial, and I'd love to see how yours turn out for you. If you want to join us over on the Facebook group, I'd love to see you over there, and any of your makes that you're making. If you've got any questions about this pattern, then please drop me a comment in the comment box below and let me know how you've got on with it. And if you have enjoyed this pattern and you don't want to miss out on my next free pattern, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It also really helps support the channel as well. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you could help me on that goal, then I'd really appreciate it. So take care, happy hooking, and I'll see you real soon. Bye!